All right, guys, we've got a big update on the upcoming Nintendo Direct, in addition to Metroid Prime 4. So let's go ahead and jump right into what VGC had to say in a recent write-up that's backing up the reports that we've heard from Nate the Hate that there is going to be a Nintendo Direct before the end of July. Now let's start off with this listing though. So according to a listing published on Friday, the Switch title has been rated for ages 12 and up due to mild violence. This was on the Korean rating board. So Metroid Prime 4 is due to release sometime this year for the original Nintendo Switch, according to the company, with an enhanced Nintendo Switch 2 edition also planned. And that Switch 2 edition, apparently according to Nintendo, will be running at 4K 60 FPS in docked up mode quality and 1080p 120 FPS in the performance mode. Now, according to the reports, when it comes to the Nintendo Direct, Nintendo is planning to hold a Nintendo Direct stream imminently, which matches with what VGC has heard from sources, where it's likely to announce the official release date for Metroid Prime 4. Now, Nintendo published the latest Metroid Prime 4 trailer in March. According to the trailer, the game is still planned to release on the Nintendo Switch sometime this year. Samus Aran has been unexpectedly transported to the planet Viros. As she explores the planet for answers, Samus is granted psychic abilities, mysterious and ancient powers that allow her to control the trajectory of her beams, operate mechanisms, and open doors. Why were these powers bestowed upon Samus, and what will her fate be? The threads intertwining beyond space and time will weave a new tale when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond launches on the Nintendo Switch this year. And of course, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 with a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that will be upgradable as well. So if you have the Nintendo Switch 1 right now, and then later you get a Switch 2, you pay $10, you can get the upgrade, or you can just flat out buy the game physical on either one, Switch 1 or Switch 2. So this is definitely interesting because we get this rating, and then we've also had the reports from Nate the Hate that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct. And even before that, Nash Weedle was saying that, hey, it's going to be July, but his timing was off overall when it comes to when he thought the Nintendo Direct was going to be, or at least from what he heard from his sources. But it does seem like July is the month, and it makes complete sense, guys. I've talked about this before. When it comes to a Nintendo Direct in July, they kind of have to get something going because they've got the launch already wrapped up, right? We've got Donkey Kong Bonanza that just came out recently, and that game is incredible. It's doing great, but there isn't a lot of other games that they do have that are dated for the rest of 2025. And the Nintendo Switch 2, in order for it to continue on its path that it's going, it needs to have these dates and it needs to have these other games so people exactly know what is happening, because we're getting into that second half of 2025. So it doesn't really make too much sense to really go beyond this point without having some type of update when it comes to Metroid Prime 4, Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. We still got a number of games that need to be dated. Now, yes, we did get stuff like the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Kirby Star-Crossed Worlds. We got that dated. We also have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition that recently launched when it comes to Mario Party as well, but we still need some updates when it comes to some of the other games and third-party games as well. Now, there's also been a little bit of other things that have kind of signaled that there will be a Nintendo Direct. Randy Pitchford came out and said that October 3rd is the date for Borderlands, so maybe we get a refresher on that. We still need to see exactly when stuff like Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is coming out. That is going to be a massive release for Square Enix and for Nintendo fans, finally getting some big, somewhat new Final Fantasy on a Nintendo platform. It has been a long time since that's been prioritized at all, so that's going to be a big thing. We still need to get Elden Ring. That is also going to be a thing on the Nintendo Switch 2, so there are a number of games that are set for this year that have not gotten a date, and it has to kind of get to the point to where they announce some of those as people prioritize what they're going to be getting, and we head into the real second half of the year. So I absolutely see a Nintendo Direct happening. Some people have asked me, when do I think the Direct will be? Well, there's only 3 days that they can announce it. They can either announce it on Monday for Tuesday, on Tuesday for Wednesday, or on Wednesday for Thursday, because that is the days that we have left when it comes to July overall. And if it's anything after that, then that goes into August. So I do think that we'll get something announced on one of those days overall. So Metroid Prime 4, super excited for this game. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think that depending on what they do in the game, depending on how it rates, it could be a Keighley Awards Game of the Year overall. Looks like they've got some pretty interesting ideas, but we have to see how everything kind of shapes up. Got to see how people rate the game. But Metroid Prime games usually rate really high, especially if they have a number in the title. No Metroid Prime game has ever rated underneath a 90, and the lowest when it comes to main Metroid Prime games, not Metroid Prime Pinball or Metroid Hunters. I know that's a main game, but not numbered. The lowest is 90, I think, with Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So Metroid Prime has a high pedigree when it comes to quality, and I expect Metroid Prime 4 to be really good. I'm also expecting Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3 to be either shadow dropped or to be released within the next month or so overall, because you have to kind of get that link going with Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and those have been rumored for a long time now at this point. So I'm expecting that. In addition to other things, I will have a full Nintendo Direct predictions video once we get the announcement of the Nintendo Direct. I will have that up for you guys because I do have some ideas, or I do have some things that I think that they're going to be announcing at this upcoming Nintendo Direct. So what do you guys think about the news here with the Nintendo Direct and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get into the next topic, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you are not subscribed, hit that like button and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more first as soon as it drops. And let me know what you're most excited about when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 or the upcoming Direct in terms of what you want to hear. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here. And we're going to discuss a pretty interesting statistic when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. Now, this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite controller of all time. 40-hour battery life, nice plush buttons, headphone jack. It's got all of the options and features when it comes to gyroscope and also HD Rumble 2, nice buttons. Everything is nice with it. And even the D-pad is fixed up, plus the smooth gliding sticks. Well, the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller is insanely popular. It's not just me overall, because 1 in 3 Nintendo Switch 2 buyers in June for the United States actually purchased a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. So that roughly estimated to be around 512,000 people that actually picked up a controller, generating over $40 million of revenue by itself. And that's just pretty crazy. That's a really high attach rate. To be exact, it's around 32% based off the numbers that Circana has estimated, with 1.6 million here in the US when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2s sold. So that's actually pretty crazy. Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, to me, is a incredible controller, and I can see why so many people actually picked it up. But the interesting thing about that is that it's unusually high when it comes to it, especially for the Nintendo Switch 2, a system that has complete backwards compatibility when it comes to Nintendo Switch 1 controllers. So if you want to use a Nintendo Switch 1 controller on Nintendo Switch 2 games, you can. It's no problem. Now, that Nintendo Switch 1 controller cannot wake up the system. Same goes for the Joy-Cons, but they're still there. And Nintendo sold millions upon millions of Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controllers. So I think that that number probably even surprised Nintendo a bit, that people still opted to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller when there's a lot of Nintendo Switch 1 controllers that are still around. And a lot of third-party Nintendo Switch 1 controllers do work with the Nintendo Switch 2. So people have plenty of controllers, but they wanted that Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. And honestly, I can't blame everybody that's picking it up. Once again, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite controller of all time. The battery life is fantastic in there. Doesn't have the analog trigger, so I can understand some people being upset with that, and I completely get it overall. But I do feel that it is an upgrade over an already really good controller, and the kicker here is the battery life. The battery life is really, really good. And I think another surprising thing is because the controller is expensive. I mean, it's $85, and it went up in price. We had the first price that was revealed, and then the tariffs hit, and then it went up in price. So some people maybe felt that it wouldn't do as well because of that, and because you can use Nintendo Switch 1 controllers on Nintendo Switch 2. But people were like, nah, I gotta get me this Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. It's kind of hard to describe completely, but the fit and the grip is really nice overall. The matte texture, everything about the controller is really good, and it feels high quality. And the best thing too is that it has the programmable buttons on the back. That really is a lifesaver for so many different types of games. It opens up possibilities and gameplay options that you don't have to do through remapping the whole controller scheme through the Nintendo Switch OS. So it creates just an easier way, and it's savable per each game. So it's not like you have to remap things every single time. So I think that Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller really kind of won over a lot of the people that are purchasing it right now. Now we'll see how it goes going forward in the future, but overall, it's a great controller, and I think there's going to be more people and more people picking it up based off of all of the hands-on and reviews the controller has gotten. So what do you guys think about the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, lighting it up overall? Do you have one, or do you plan on getting one? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, we've got to talk about this just briefly because there has been long-standing rumors, at least, that Princess Peach and Mario are more than just friends. They are dating, maybe they're secretly married. I mean, who knows what is happening? But it looks like Nintendo has set the record straight when it comes to the Nintendo Today app. This is the hard-hitting news I know you guys are all excited to hear about. So Nintendo says Princess Peach and Mario are just good friends. Here's what they said on the Nintendo Today app. Princess Peach and Mario are good friends and help each other out whenever they can. So there you go, guys. Mario's been getting friend-zoned at this point now for decades, 40 years, 30, 40 years at this point. So it's one of those things where, listen, guys, we all want that storybook ending. We all know that Mario, you know, he's been trying his hardest in everything, but they are just good friends. So that's what Nintendo says. That is the word, and I wanted to make sure that I let all of you guys know that that's the case when it comes to Mario. So what do you guys think about Mario and Princess Peach being just really good friends? Let me know in the comment section below. And then next up, we're going to talk about the misinformation that is going around that people are trying to spread when it comes to Donkey Kong Bonanza, when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2 in Japan. Now, once again, I will say this, and I've been saying it, if you come to my live streams or even my other video that I did talking about Nintendo Switch 2 liars and how haters are getting desperate at this point, because we're starting to see real manipulation and real lies overall. And I know not everybody loves the topic, but I wanted to make sure that I put out the right information out there for people. So when it comes to Japan and the sales in Japan, the Nintendo Switch 2 is on a lottery system. Whatever stock Nintendo has when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, it's sold. Switch 2s aren't just sitting on store shelves. Not in Europe and in the US and some places, you can find Nintendo Switch 2s just chilling. Nintendo has a pretty good, I would say, restocking situation right now when it comes to it. They regularly get new stock in. There'll be people that come buy it. There'll be like 7, 8, 10 or whatever per system. People buy it throughout the day, and then the next day they buy it throughout that, and then Nintendo restocks. So Nintendo has been incredible on restocking the system in multiple regions. However, in Japan, it is not the same thing overall. Nintendo's stock allocation, they're trying to spread it apart evenly. And overall, when you look at the Japanese sales, Nintendo has a lottery system. If you even want a Nintendo Switch 2, you have to go get a lottery and you'll be randomly picked overall. Any stock that they do get, it's sold. So the other week, we had a 70,000 plus unit week when it comes to sales for the Nintendo Switch 2. Some out there, a lot of liars and manipulators were trying to say, oh, look, nobody's wanting to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 in Japan because it sold 70K. Well, that's all they had when it came to the stock in Japan. It wasn't like there was Switch 2 sitting in store shelves in Japan. And this has been confirmed by one Nintendo, by 2 stores, and by 3 people living in Japan. This is not hidden data. This is not rumor. This is not me just making something up. This is actually what's happening. So if you see anybody make videos, make tweets, make posts, sitting here and trying to cope or seethe about, oh, well, it's only this and it didn't do this, or trying to sit there and make it seem as if it's not like good in Japan overall, they're not selling enough or whatever the case is, it's silly and it's nonsense, and they're not letting you know the actual truth when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 and in Japan, because all I want is the truth, data, and facts overall. You can have whatever personal opinions that you want to have, but the real thing that's happening in Japan, especially with the most recent Nintendo Switch sales overall, which I did cover in a video, is that Nintendo had around 152,000 units in Japan to sell for the last week when Donkey Kong Bonanza launched, and they sold 152,000 units. They don't have stock just sitting on store shelves and waiting for X, Y, and Z person to come pick it up randomly. They pretty much sell out anytime that they get stock in. So that is the truth. That is the facts overall, guys. Like I said, if anybody's trying to say differently or trying to sit there and manipulate it and say that people aren't trying to buy it or it's not as good as this or that, they don't know what they're talking about, and they're outright lying to you overall or withholding information and misleading. So we do truth and facts around here at this place overall. So let me know what you guys think about this. If you have a Nintendo Switch 2, What are you playing right now at this point? What are you excited for? What are you looking forward to playing, or whatever the case is? And of course, the Nintendo Direct that's coming up. What do you think about that? In addition to Metroid Prime 4, I know I'm super excited about that overall. Really excited to see some of the other games heading for the Switch 2 later half of the year, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun overall with the games. It's just an exciting time period overall with the new system launch and games that are coming out. But I think that games like Donkey Kong Bonanza and also Mario Kart World, those are going to be the boost that Nintendo Switch 2 needs for the rest of the year. Those are going to be evergreen games. I see them continuously selling throughout the year worldwide at this point. I covered the Amazon bestsellers sales list, and Donkey Kong Bonanza is #1. Nintendo Switch 2 is #2 here in the US and in many other regions. So I can see that continuing on for the rest of the year overall with Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and other games that are going to come into the fray here. So what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.